Now it's time to transfer my data from the request table to the request table preview. So let's proceed and let's use another function for that. And we have a very important and crucial function here, and this is SetLineItemCellValue. Yes, this function. So at this function, I will just define the value to my which table, the request table, preview table, and I will use a row here. The row will come from my request table preview. So let's make a data element for that first, and it will be of course numeric, and let's name it request table preview row. Okay, so this will be numeric, and the data here has to be dynamic, so I make it a data element request table preview row. The column default value will be 0, and so at this table to the first row, first column, I want to define a value. So what is gonna be that value? So I have another function for that value, and it is GetLineItemData. So I will get the data from which table, as you can imagine, it is from the request table. So I must define a row here as well. So let's do the row. So request table row, it will be numeric. So I go to my function again, and I make the row request table row. So what I do here is I will just get the data of request table preview, first row, first column. I get it from the request table, first row, first column. That's what I do. That's what these functions do. So I name it like set product data, and calculated data element will be request table preview. Yes, I get the data to the request table preview from the request table, from the rows and the columns. But I made only the rows dynamic. The columns can be dynamic too, but in this example, we don't cover that part. I did this identification for the product data, but I can do the same for the text as well as the value. So I have another function for that. So for the data, for the value, I use the function SetLineItemCellValue. But for the text, I have exactly the same function, but not the value, but the text. The only difference is I have to write text instead of value. So what I do is I copy and I paste this function, and what I do is I just change the value as text, and the rest is the same, and I will just set product text, and again the same table. So by the way, I will be able to get the value as well as the text. I save my process again. Each time it's always better to save your process. Okay, I started transferring the data from request table to request table preview, starting with the product data and product text. Let's see what else do we want to transfer. So product has been transferred. Now we will transfer the quantity, the unit, the product information. The supplier will come from the other table. Let's first transfer quantity and unit and product info to. So what I do is I just copy and paste this set product data element, and I will just transfer the data. Normally I have to change this. The column will be default 0 here. The column will be default 0, and it will be same for the text. The column default 0, and let's do the same for yes. Now it will be, instead of 0 it will be 1, the columns, and I will just transfer not the product data but the quantity. Yes, calculated data element, set request table preview, and I will transfer the data to my first, let's say, second column, first row, and again here, second column, first row, and at this table. But this time I will set the quantity. So there's no text in quantity. It's not pop-up, it's not drop down. So I will just set the quantity, and I copy and I paste this. Now I will set, let's check again. Okay, so quantity and unit. Unit is drop down, so I got to take the text as well as the value. So I will just make the formula first 2, 2, and I will set this time the unit, the value of the unit, and I have to do the same. Let's check if it's 2. Yeah, 2 is correct, and I have to set unit text, and I have to change the value formula with text formula. Okay, set unit task. Let's make some cosmetics here, and the other value is product I get, quantity I get, unit, product info. Product info is alphanumeric. I can just get the value. So 0, 1, 2, 3. I have to define the column 3. So I just copy and paste this, and this time I've got to set the product info, let's say, and only the value, and the column will be 3. Yeah, so far so good. Now it's time to set the value of the supplier, I guess. Yes, supplier 0, 1, 2, 3. This time 4. But the supplier is pop-up select, and it won't come from my request table. It will come from my supplier selection table. So let's see how to do it. For supplier selection, I will use the same formula. Let's copy and paste, and let's check the formula. First, let's go to our table, request table, and let's select which column is the supplier. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth column. So let's first write the column. It will be fourth column. That's fine. But the table will not be the request table. It will be the supplier table. So I have that table here, somewhere here. Yeah, supplier table. And sorry. Yeah, instead of request table, it will be supplier table. Okay, and there must be a comma here, and it will be 4, and so the request table row, not the request table row this time, it will be the which row, supplier selection row. Yeah, it's here, and column 0. So from this table, the fourth column is the supplier, and I'll get the data from supplier table according to the number of row, but the first column. Okay, and let's say set supplier. Okay, the supplier has been selected from my supplier table. All the other data has been selected from my request table. Let's see what else do we have that needs to be set. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and not this one, 5, 6, 7. Oh, requested date. I've got to get the requested date as well. So let's just copy and paste this, and it will be the formula 7, 7, and set requested date. Yes, so the data, all the data will be transferred from my request table and supplier table to the request table preview. So let's save the process. I think I forgot something because the supplier table has to be, oh yeah, pop-up select, so I've got to take the text of it as well. So let's just copy and paste set supplier, and let's make it set supplier text, and let's change the formula from value to text, and let's say supplier text, and yes, so supplier and the text will be set as well. Let's save it before starting to our loop.